Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to read something from my comment section. It's a young guy asking advice. So let's get into it. Alexander Grace, I've been watching many of your videos over the past couple of weeks, along with many other red pill concepts across YouTube and Reddit. Long story short, I'm 21 years old and have been through one long relationship over many years with a girl I adored. Though after many bumps in the road, things came crashing down as they do. Details are moot, but I'll say many red flags I observed myself have been discussed on your channel and many others. She did end up becoming unfaithful and lying to my face about it, similar to the case you examined in this video. In a sense, she sent me into a spiral in almost every aspect of life, as I suddenly viewed things with a much different lens. I feel I'm in a minority of your viewers, as I'm still young and maturing, although more and more as I enlighten myself with the red pill, I feel rather bleak about many aspects of life I once considered to be very promising. Friends aren't what I thought they were, and their priorities were never what I believed they were. Girls have a dark side that accompanies their increasingly complex nature and behavior patterns. Material things like fame and wealth seem to have lost much of the flair society and social media predisposed on me for years through grade school and college. Marriage, retirement, graduation, employment, travel, the list is endless, and lately I just feel lost. For so many years I got by because they were never something I questioned, and allowed the blue pill to keep me sort of at ease throughout my journey into adulthood. Now, my question to you as someone I view to have a better grasp of how the red pill affects one's personal growth, how the hell do you keep an open mind about swallowing these harsh realizations when they just feel like they keep battering me down? Obviously, it's better to learn and expand your wisdom on all aspects of life, but goddamn, it makes me feel a little deflated when I'm constantly reevaluating my priorities, as it seems the more enlightened you become, the more lost you feel, because all these doors you never saw before swing wide, waiting to be explored. I realize this has nothing to do with the content of your video, but I felt this might be a good place to start. I plan on being here for every video you release. I've committed myself to personal growth as I enter adulthood and plan on implementing several red pill ideologies and theories into my life. I hope to become one of your Patreon supporters when it's feasible for me. I hope this comment reaches you, although no worries if not. Like I said, I don't plan on going anywhere. Cheers, keep up the great content, you've earned yourself another subscriber. So, there you have it. This poor guy's only 21 years old and he's already been cheated on. I mean, that sucks. That's rough, but if there's a silver lining to this, I think that it will be the self-growth and the learning about himself and the world that this kind of difficult experience seems to have prompted within him. Anyway, I'm really excited to share all of my thoughts about this post. I'll just take a short break and then we'll get into it. So before we get started, I just want to apologize for my voice. I'm sure it sounds a little bit weird, but I've got a bit of a cold. I've had it for about a week. When I went to the doctor, the receptionist said, "Don't worry, it's just a man flu." And I told her comment was sexist, and it was a funny exchange. I made a video about it for my Patreon subscribers, but in case you're wondering, that's why my voice is a little bit strange. Anyway, let's get into the advice. So the most important question here is one that every person who encounters the red pill really needs to look at, which is, how do you simultaneously learn about the dark aspects of human psychology and female behavior and come to grips with some of the harsh truths of reality, while also remaining enthusiastic and optimistic about life? You know, how do you achieve that balancing act? And it's a really important question. I'm going to save my discussion for that at the end though, so first we'll start by looking at some of the minor points. To begin with, you said that you felt like you'd probably be in a minority of my audience, being a young guy, but the results may surprise you. One of the fantastic features of YouTube is that it gives you very detailed data and statistics about your audience's demographics, and it seems like lots of young people watch this channel. Let's take a look. As you can see from this graph, the majority of my views come from people under the age of 35. In fact, when I looked at the raw numbers, I discovered that only 30% of my audience is actually over the age 35. So it seems like this channel attracts a lot of young viewers. I'm really pleased with this because while it's beneficial for anybody of any age to learn red pill truths and to improve their relationship with the reality, obviously the earlier in life you learn this stuff, the better it will be for you. So let's start looking at the specifics of what this guy's going through. He says that he's drifting away from his friends as he realizes that they don't share the same priorities as he does. This is something that everybody seems to go through in their 20s. As you grow and evolve as a person, you naturally drift away from old friends who are moving in a different direction, or sometimes just not moving in any direction at all. Even though this kind of sucks at the time, it's actually a positive thing that this is taking place, because As old friends who are no longer enriching your life move away, it opens up space for new, awesome people to take their place. There is an unfortunate phenomenon where one person in a group of friends begins to evolve and make positive changes in their life. It can draw criticism from their other friends who feel threatened and might start talking bad about that person, might start criticizing that person. The point is that some people in your old life won't support your self-growth. They would rather you stay small and depressed like they are, because that way it's not confronting to them and they don't need to take an honest look at their own lives. Most people understand that this is a danger, but they fail to appreciate just how negative the consequences of having a toxic person in your life can be. I often use the analogy of a gardener who's trying to grow plants in the desert. Now, imagine someone who's really passionate about gardening. They love planting seeds and watching things grow. Imagine how disillusioned that person would be if he went from planting seeds in rich, fertile soil where the plants, flowers, and trees that he planted grew with abundance, if he suddenly moved his operation to the desert, to soil without nutrients, to a climate without rain. Well, within a few seasons, he wouldn't be experiencing joy anymore. He'd be experiencing anger and frustration. This is why it's so important for the gardener to plant his seeds in fertile soil. And the same goes for your human relationships. If you're going to invest your time into people, you need to make sure that they're supportive of your growth and that they're undergoing their own process of growth as well. That's what's going to create an enriching relationship. Otherwise, you're going to end up like the gardener in the desert, just bitter and frustrated. Make sure that those people who are close to you in your immediate circle are positive, engaging, ambitious, they've got integrity, because those people will appreciate the positive contributions you make in their lives. This is the secret to avoiding becoming embittered and disillusioned with human relationships. Find quality people. Don't be the gardener who's planting his seeds in the desert. Now, this person's also said that things that used to bring him hope about the possibility of future pleasure have ceased to have any kind of appeal. Things like wealth and fame. There really isn't any way to avoid having this realization, because if you're a person of even basic intelligence, it won't take you long to figure out that the fantasy of happiness that comes from being rich and famous is just that. It's a fantasy, and in reality, it often just brings stress and problems. People who think that being famous will somehow provide a magical fix for all of their psychological problems are unfortunately quite delusional. We know this to be true because we've seen enough stories of famous actors and actresses who are totally depressed and suicidal. The problem is that all of those screaming masses, the fans who love and adore you, they only really love an image of you. They don't know the real you. And so what you inevitably find is that the more famous you get, the more lonely you feel. Being wealthy isn't as ridiculous a goal to shoot for as being famous, because wealth is actually a lot more versatile and it can be used to great effect to facilitate greater freedom and pleasure in your life. So while having lots of money isn't inherently problematic, the danger comes when people believe that just money itself will bring you happiness. Those people are in for a rude shock. Money appeals to different people for different reasons. Some people like it because it seems to provide some kind of objective measure of their worth as a person. If I make this much money, if I own this much stuff, then I'm that great a person. Other people think that lots of money means having lots of power, and that somehow when they're finally in control of all aspects of their life through their money, they'll feel psychologically safe and all of their previous problems will just vanish. This never happens, and as with fame, we already have plenty of stories of people who got more and more miserable the more wealthy they became. The way to avoid this is to make sure you have clearly specified what your priorities are before you go about trying to make lots of money. For example, if you know that your big passion is travel and scuba diving and sort of adventure sports like that, well, that's great. You've got a goal, and money can be used to achieve that goal. And so you work and you work and you work until you have enough money to go and pursue your dreams. But once you've reached that threshold of money, then you can comfortably stop, because the money was a means, it wasn't an end. If money itself is your goal, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because you're always going to want more. More money will be better, more money will make me happier. You'll be a hamster on a wheel, running yourself to death with no endpoint ever in sight. Now, you sound like a smart guy, so you've probably already realized these things. And while it's important to realize these things, It's just difficult because so much of society is geared towards the achievement of things like wealth and fame, and we perpetuate this myth on a huge cultural scale as if those things are going to bring happiness. Hope is extremely important for psychological happiness. Even the people at the bottom of society can still feel reasonably happy if they have enough hope. Hope that if they work hard or maybe get a little bit lucky, that they're going to achieve happiness through material wealth and abundance. They need to keep that hope alive. That belief, that hope, is absolutely essential for them to survive. If they lost all hope, they would very quickly sink into depression. This sounds a little bit like what you're going through. A lot of the things that you used to believe would bring you happiness and fueled your hope, you're now realizing they're just empty promises, and you're left wondering, well, what is there to live for? The same goes for relationships with women. A lot of men start off their dating careers completely buying into the Hollywood myth that there's some perfect soulmate out there for you, and that when you meet her, she's going to treat you nice, you're going to be happy, and that all of your psychological problems are just magically going to vanish. This is one of the most important truths that comes from red pill ideology. That men need to let go and surrender all of their old ideas about how they want women to be, their hopes and fantasies, and they need to come to terms with their reality. In fact, we could probably summarize everything that you're going through as a process of waking up to reality. When you're young and idealistic, the world seems beautiful and boundless and full of hope and possibility. But as you encounter the brutal truth of reality, the world can lose some of the magical properties that it seemed to have when you were young. The reason that you're feeling lost is that you're having difficulty establishing a new purpose. Because when all of your old goals now seem empty and pointless, it's difficult to see where in the world you're going to find any happiness. You also describe a feeling of being overwhelmed, like there's so much to learn, and the more you discover, the more you realize how much further you still have to go. There's not really that much that I can say regarding this process, because your feelings of being overwhelmed or even a bit depressed are perfectly normal responses to this situation. You're responding to the circumstances of your life the same way that any rational, logical person would. There are 3 things that I can say that should hopefully reduce your suffering and make the process a little bit easier while you go through it. The first is that it's unavoidable. If you want to be a happy person with meaning and purpose in your life and positive, enriching relationships, then this is a process that you absolutely have to go through. You have to let go of all of your old ideas, beliefs, and fantasies to do with the world and come to grips with reality. I know that that might not sound encouraging at first, but I mention it because knowing that it's unavoidable can have the positive effect of removing any doubt in your mind. If any part of you is thinking, oh, do I really have to do this? The answer is yes. And knowing that, hopefully it should inspire you to make a 100% commitment to do it as authentically and ideally as quickly as possible. The second thing that I can say is that you're not alone. Every person who eventually became an awesome human being, your future friends, they went through this process and then came out the other side. So you're in very good company. And as you go further on this journey, you're likely to find people to share that journey with you and support you in the process. The last thing that I can say is that while this stage of development is difficult, it is completely worth it. Because once you reach the other side, you will see that life can be amazing. The pain of shedding your illusions does not last forever, and eventually reality will no longer be your enemy. It'll be your friend and ally. Once you've reached that stage of development where you no longer experience facts, truth, and reality as antagonistic to your interests, then you can truly begin to live life, and you're going to rediscover that feeling of magic that you experienced in the world when you were younger. You will have created a new life for yourself based on a solid foundation of reality. And you'll be different to everybody else who's still clinging to their illusions. Their lives will be filled with constant stress and constant upheaval as they struggle to hold on to their fantasies, even as the earthquakes of reality undermine the foundations of their life. You mentioned that it's getting exhausting having to learn and assimilate all of this new information, and that you're having difficulty establishing goals and priorities. That's completely understandable. My advice to you would be to not rush to establish goals or priorities right now. Understand and appreciate that you're in a process of transition right now, learning about the world and learning about yourself. This is not the right time to be making major life decisions. If anything, you should be avoiding commitments at the moment so that you remain as free and fluid as possible to respond to the way that your new understanding shapes the way that you want to interact with the world. This period won't go on forever. It's important that you know that. While you'll be learning forever throughout your life, ideally, at some point you will have grasped enough of reality and yourself that you'll know what you want to do, that you're ready to start making moves out into the world. Until you get to that point, make peace with where you are now and try and enjoy this process of discovery and learning. Now I want to talk about some basic guidelines that would be sensible to follow if you want to live a life full of purpose, meaning and happiness. I'll take a short break and then we'll get back into it. So first off, I'm glad that you discovered my channel. Naturally, I'm biased, but I think that the topics that we talk about in my videos and in the comments section are really important and are essential for any young man to grasp. I think it's great that you discovered the Red Pill community as young as you did. I know that the circumstances that brought you to this part of the internet are not necessarily ideal, they're quite unfortunate, but there are a lot of important truths that the Red Pill community talks about, and learning about them this young will really enrich your life. If I may offer one word of caution, it's that just like every other community, there are individuals within the Red Pill or MGTOW community who are always trying to push the ideology further and further to the extremes. So read lots of people, listen to lots of people, go on the Red Pill subreddit, check out Red Pill content creators here on YouTube, but just be wary of anybody who speaks in absolutes, who seems to be pushing a really strong agenda or seems to have, hatred in their heart. This is actually one of my major concerns with the Red Pill community, is that young guys will log on to the internet and they'll read a bunch of this stuff and they won't necessarily have enough experience or maturity or even intelligence to be able to separate the good advice from the bad advice. The danger, of course, is that some of these people who are pushing for a more extreme mentality mix in a lot of truth with what they're saying. And so while you're listening along and you're like, yep, that seems accurate, then they say something that seems rather hateful or extreme. You think, well, they've been accurate up until now. Maybe there's some truth to that too. There isn't really any solid rule that I can give you for navigating that particular difficulty, but as you grow in wisdom and experience, it will get easier and easier for you to identify extremists. In the short term, I hope that you continue to watch this channel, because what I want to provide is an unflinching look at the reality of human dynamics, relationships, and sexuality without any bitterness, hatred, or hidden agenda. Now, although it might be a little bit difficult for you to believe right now because you're still a little bit fresh from your old conditioning, I want to tell you that it is absolutely possible to achieve happiness and satisfaction without things like fame and wealth. Some of the happiest people that I've ever known were monks who lived without any material possessions or even a personal identity. Now, I'm not saying that you should become a monk or move to a monastery. I'm just saying that our society has lied to you by making you think that material success and abundance is the only legitimate path to happiness. Your challenge will be to walk your own path of happiness, one that reflects your preferences and tastes. Because you're your own person, I don't really know what that life's going to look like for you. That's for you to discover. And the process of finding that out should be quite fun. So what I'm going to provide now is just a couple of tips to help you along that process. Think of your life in terms of the 3 different experiences you have of time: past, present, and future. Your task will be to make peace with all 3 of these experiences. Let's start with the past. A lot of people suffer because they have repressed traumatic incidents in their past and will not allow themselves to experience the emotions connected with those events. This should be your first task, to find all of the hidden demons of your past that you haven't emotionally processed yet. Monsters grow in the shadows, and by shedding light on the darkness of your past, you free yourself from fear, guilt, and shame. While you can explore this stuff personally, inside the privacy of your own mind, it is 1000% more effective if you do it with another person, someone that you trust. It can be a family member, it can be a close friend, or if you're in a healthy relationship with a quality woman, it can be with your romantic partner as well. If none of those options are available to you, I highly recommend seeing a professional counselor. I know that some people don't like therapy, and there can be a number of reasons for that. Sometimes the therapist is inexperienced and not very good at their job. Sometimes the patient is just not ready to face their personal demons. Regardless, I'm a big advocate for seeing a professional psychologist, because the people that I've known who have undergone therapy and counseling have had their lives radically transformed for the better. The other important way to make peace with your past is to increase your level of understanding. A lot of human suffering actually comes from confusion, not understanding what's going on or why something is occurring. If you look back over your past experiences and you don't understand what was motivating your behavior or motivating the behavior of the people close to you, then your lack of understanding will be frightening to you. That fear is why so often people settle for a simplistic explanation, because even a simple explanation is preferable to the fear of admitting that you don't understand. I even see this with a lot of regularity inside the Red Pill community, when people offer up overly simplistic explanations for a woman's behavior. They might see a woman act a certain way and just say, oh well, she's a bitch, and be completely satisfied with that surface level explanation, without ever digging into the deeper individual psychology of that particular woman. I understand why this occurs. People are complex, and it can seem an insurmountable task to try and understand what's motivating them, and so it's really tempting to just settle for the first explanation that comes along. But there's also a big danger in that. The danger is that unless you have properly identified the true cause of someone's behavior as it is in reality, not according to some ideology, then you lay yourself open and vulnerable to the same situation occurring again, where that same fear of, I don't understand what's happening or why it's happening, is just going to attack you again. So do whatever you have to do. Talk to people, ask questions, read books, and spend lots of time in deep introspection. The more that you increase your understanding of the world, the more control you'll feel like you have over your life, and the more inner peace you'll experience. With regards to the future, it's important that you have a strong sense of purpose, something to live for. Now, it's always been reasonably self-evident to me that the most worthy goal that you can dedicate yourself to is that which reduces human suffering. Before committing to a course of action, ask if it fulfills these criteria. Is it something you enjoy? Is it something that you're good at? Is it something that is going to improve the lives of other people? Is it something that's going to make you any money? If you can find something that fulfills all of those criteria, then your future should be sorted. It's in the final experience of time, the present, where you get to enjoy your life. That's where the reward and the happiness and the pleasure comes in. And most of that comes through human relationships. And that's why I think it's important to talk about the most important relationship of all, which is the romantic relationship you have with your partner. Life can't all just be processing emotional trauma from your past or planning for future goals. Sometimes it needs to just be about the pure enjoyment of living in the moment. Sharing a laugh with people who love and care about you. I understand that after being cheated on, you're probably not feeling optimistic about finding a quality woman that you can spend your life with. I understand that feeling, and it's really good to be cautious. However, as important as it is to educate yourself about the dark aspects of femininity and to learn about all the ways that you can be taken advantage of in a relationship, I would advise you to not allow bad experiences to color your expectations of the future too much. Now, I'm going to commit some red pill blasphemy here, so get ready for the backlash. There are quality women out there. I'm not saying there's a lot. I'm not saying that they're easy to find, but there are women out there who would treat you nicely and would enrich your life. Obviously, here in the West, with our current cultural and social paradigms, they're getting more and more rare. And that's why lots of people are moving overseas to try and find partners. And I don't know, maybe that's something you might want to consider. Wherever you go, if you do happen to meet a high quality woman, understand that she's only going to want to be in a relationship with a high quality man. So when I talk about top quality, I'm not talking about superficial characteristics. I'm talking about genuine moral character. People who are intelligent, people who have integrity. And if you want a top quality woman, then you have to become a top quality man. That means improving yourself, educating yourself, being respectful and ethical in all of your dealings with other people. You need to become the best version of you that you can possibly be, because that's what's going to give you the best chance of attracting a top quality woman. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but I promise that it will be worth it. The pleasures of life are so much richer when they're shared with somebody that you love. I truly believe that having someone who loves and cares about you, who shares in your joys and in your sadnesses, is the absolute peak of human experience. Now, how to conduct yourself in a relationship so that you're getting all of the good bits without any of the stress or anxiety, that's a really big topic. But if you stick around this channel, there's going to be plenty of videos on that. And other people have written about that extensively as well. I'm just saying that don't allow the bad experiences that you've had in relationships color your expectation for what's possible in future relationships. because as bad as they can also be amazing. That's all I have to say right now, but I really hope that it helps. I want to congratulate you on having the courage to face reality as young as you are and to take steps to better your life. I know that it's not easy, but it is definitely worth it. I also hope to see you as one of my Patreon subscribers sometime in the future. If you have any follow-up questions to the advice that I give in this video, just contact me via email. You can find that on my Patreon website, and we can discuss in private from there. For everybody else, please leave a comment below letting us know what you thought of the advice that I gave, and if there's anything important that you think that this young guy needs to know that I haven't covered in this video. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and make sure you've subscribed to the channel. If you haven't done so yet and you feel like supporting the creator, please check out my Patreon page. I'm posting there a little bit more frequently into this channel, more just personal videos, things exclusive for my Patreon subscribers. So check it out. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.